Okay, let's set the scene. A customer makes a payment, right? They use all their correct passwords, their security codes, everything looks legit. But then, just minutes later, they call their bank in a total panic, claiming they were scammed. Now, the digital evidence, it says they did it, but they're swearing they were tricked. So who does the bank believe? That's the huge dilemma we're going to dig into today.
It almost always kicks off with a story that just sounds terrifyingly real. A frantic phone call to the bank, a customer completely distraught, saying they were fooled by some super sophisticated imposter into sending away their money. And look, these social engineering scams, they're very real. People lose their life savings to them every single day.
But here's the twist. For the investigators on the bank side, the data paints a completely different picture. The logs show the customer logged in just fine, they passed every single security check, and they personally hit confirm. So this raises a really crucial question. Was this a complex scam that totally fooled an innocent victim, or is there something else going on here?
So right at the heart of this whole conflict is one specific kind of transaction. It's the kind that sits in this really frustrating gray area. It's not clear-cut fraud, but it's not a simple customer action either. And it's called an Authorized Push Payment, or APP for short. Now, think about this. Unlike a fraudster who, say, steals your card details and uses them online, an APP is a payment you actively push from your own account. You're the one logging in, you're the one typing in the details, and you're the one who authorizes it. Technically speaking, you are in complete control of the whole thing.
Okay, so what does this mean for the investigator? Well, they're stuck with two totally competing stories for the exact same event. In one corner, you've got the genuine victim, someone who is psychologically manipulated, basically tricked into pushing that button. But in the other corner, you have the possibility of abuse. This is where the customer might know exactly what they're doing and is just using a scam story to try and get the bank to cover their loss.
And this is where the real detective work kicks in. To sort through these really murky cases, fine crime teams can't just take the story at face value. Nope. They have to become data detectives, hunting for specific patterns and red flags in the digital trail that might suggest, maybe this isn't the straightforward scam it appears to be.
So what exactly are they looking for? How do they tell the difference? Well, it's almost never one single piece of evidence. Instead, it's about a collection of behavioral clues that, when put together, can paint a picture that looks very, very different from the story they were told.
There's this classic, really suspicious three-step pattern that investigators often spot. Here's how it goes. First, the customer moves money around internally, maybe from a savings account into their main checking account. Second, that money is sent out to another account almost instantly. And third, a fraud claim is filed literally the moment the transfer is complete. Now, for someone who's supposedly in a panic, that whole sequence can look a little too perfect, a little too efficient, right?
And the clues don't stop there. They keep building. Investigators will also look for inconsistencies in the story about the scam call itself. Does it change every time they tell it? They'll check if the money was sent to a high-risk account or, get this, maybe to someone the customer actually knows. And this is a big one. They'll note if the customer just breezed through all the multi-factor authentication steps with zero problems, or if they suddenly get really vague and resistant when asked for specific details about the so-called scammer.
So why does getting this right matter so much? What's the big deal? Well, because making the wrong call has consequences that ripple out way beyond just one person's bank account. The stakes for the entire financial system are actually incredibly high.
Let's actually break down these risks. First, you've got the obvious one, financial loss. The bank reimburses a fake claim, and that's just money down the drain. Second is what we call abuse of protections, policies that are designed to help real victims get exploited. Third, and this one is huge, is the anti-money laundering risk. The customer might actually be in on it, colluding with criminals as a money mule to help wash dirty cash. And finally, there's the massive reputational risk. You look bad if you deny a real victim, and you look just as bad if you pay out a fraudster.
So, the key thing to understand here is that this isn't just about the bottom line. It's not just about the money. A wrong decision can seriously damage public trust in the bank's ability to keep its customers safe. And in the absolute worst-case scenario, it can actually make the bank an unwitting partner in serious financial crime.
So all of this brings us to the final verdict, which, as you can probably guess, is rarely a simple yes or no. The reality of these situations is just way more complex, and there are simply no easy answers for the teams who have to make that final call.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. Fine crime teams have to
have to avoid binary thinking. It's almost never as simple as 100% fraud on one side and 100% customer fault on the other. The truth almost always lives somewhere in that messy gray area in between.
Ultimately, handling these kinds of disputed payments correctly requires a really sophisticated, evidence-led approach. It's not a gut feeling thing. It demands a mature system that can combine the cold, hard technical data with a deep understanding of human behavior, all of it guided by skilled investigators who know how to put all the pieces together and see the full picture.
And that leaves us with a final, lingering question for the future of banking, really. As scammers get more and more convincing and our digital lives become more and more intertwined with our finances, where do we draw the line? Where does consumer responsibility end, and where does the bank's duty to protect us begin? There's no simple answer to that, but it's a question we're all going to have to confront.